Welcome back, everyone. I'm Seoul Man of Seoul Speech. Today we will cover an important feature of Hangul, or actually any language, how to ask questions. In Hangul, you need to master 까요니야 for that. So what is 까요니야? It means, what is your question in Spanish? Really? Oh, no. Just kidding. 까요니야 are tail characters you need to attach at the end of question sentences in Hangul. That's right. Instead of do you, is it, are you, does it, was it, Hangul uses 까, 요, 니, 야 at the end of a sentence to make it a question. Just like many other languages, 까요니야 has a little bit uplifting intonation at the end. 까, 요, 니, 야. Each of these functions as a tail character at the end of a question, while 까 is much more polite than 니 or 야. So if you go to the right side, it becomes less polite and casual. We'll see all the details. Let's try the first expression for question. Who are you? 누구 means who. 누구. When you add 세요 to 누구, it makes a sentence 누구세요, which is a neutral or standard form of saying who are you or who is it as well. When somebody knocks your door, it is typical to ask 누구세요 before opening the door. Here is a standard intonation for it. 누구세요? 누구세요? When you add 십니까 instead of 세요, it becomes more formal and polite, but slightly less friendly. 십니까 is a short form of 이십니까, 이십니까. So you can also say 누구이십니까 when you are literally asking who are you, while 누구세요 is more close to saying who is it? Who is it? Who is over there? Or literally asking who are you? Here is a tip for intonation. When you meant who is it? Who is over there? Try 누구세요? 누구세요? When you are literally asking who are you, use 누구세요? 누구세요? Can you feel the difference? Note that 누구세요 or 누구십니까 does not include you part, which is 당신 or 너 in Hangul, because it's implied when you are asking 누구세요? 누구십니까 in front of a person, it is implied that you're asking to that person. But if you want to really emphasize you part, you can add 당신은 누구세요? 당신은 누구세요? Or 당신은 누구십니까? 당신 is a polite way of referring to you or 너 in Hangul. The difference between 요 and 까 is very subtle, but 까 is generally more polite and more formal than standard form of 요. You can use either one. We have looked at standard or polite form 요 and 까. When you attach 니 at the end instead, it becomes a very casual and non-polite question. This should only be used between friends or to a younger person. When you use 니 to ask who are you, you should not use 당신 with it, which is a polite subjective pronoun for 너. When you mix a polite subjective pronoun with non-polite expression, it becomes ridiculous. So instead of saying 당신은 누구니, which sounds like who the hell are you, sir? You must use 너는 누구니 or 넌 누구니 to ask a casual question of who are you. 넌 is a short form of 너는. Do you remember 은는 이가 from the earlier episode? That's right. 는 of 너는 and 은 of 당신은 are all the same thing from 은는 이가, which can be used in a question as well without having to use adjectives or verbs followed by them. The last one of 까요니야, 야. 야 is the least polite, actually kind of rude or aggressive way of asking a question. Typically used in argument, fight, or when challenging somebody. For example, when a security or military patrol finds somebody suspicious and challenges for identity. In that case, a military police will ask, 누구야? 누구야? When you want to ask, who the hell are you? You would say, 너 누구야? 너 누구야? Or, 넌 누구야? Who are you? Or who the hell are you? Since this sounds very rude, you have to use it with care. Since we got questioned, we need to answer. Let's say somebody asked, 누구세요? And you want to say, I'm Steve. Then you would say, 스티브입니다. 스티브입니다. 입니다 is an honorific expression for 이다, which means it is, I am, or just describe a status of being. 입니다 has a 비읍 받침 at 입, but when you pronounce it at normal speed, you say 입니다 instead of 입니다. That's because when 비읍 받침 collides with 니은, the 비읍 is morphed into 미음 sound. This is called as 자음 접변 in Hangul. But you can just remember this as a consonant collision, which changed the sound of 받침 자음. When you say Steve입니다, it is implied that I am Steve. If you really want to say I am part, then you would add or prepend 나는 or humble way of calling yourself 저는 스티브입니다. When you want to make a full sentence, you would say 나는 스티브입니다 or 저는 스티브입니다. We have used 야 of 까요니야 in questions. This 야 tail character can also be used in answers in casual conversation. It is used for an answer to a question asked with 야 ending character as well. So when you want to answer as I'm Steve or I'm Picasso, you would say Steve야, 피카소야. When previous character has a 받침, we use 이야 instead of 야. For example, rather than saying 잭야 or 서울맨야, which is hard to pronounce, we say 잭야 or 서울맨이야 by adding 이 as a sound padding. Also, the 받침 기역 or 받침 니은 is followed by 이응 at 이. Continuous sounding rule applies here and it is pronounced as 잭이야 or 서울맨이야 in normal speed. 잭이야, 서울맨이야. Note that 야 answering cannot be used in honorific expressions at all. In addition to 야 or 이야, you can also use 다 or 이다. So you can say that 나는 스티브다, 나는 피카소다, 나는 잭이다, 나는 서울맨이다. When you have a word ending with a 받침, you use 이다 instead of 다. You will find that 받침 just followed by 다 will be very hard to pronounce. You can try yourself. Instead of 잭이다, say 잭다. Instead of 서울맨이다, say 서울맨다. Very awkward. Let's summarize honorific versus casual answers. 입니다, 습니다, 합니다, all ends with 니다. This 니다 is a tail word for honorific or polite expressions, which is called as 존댓말 in Hangul, 존댓말. Whereas 야, 이야, 다, 이다 are all tail words for casual and non-polite expressions, which are called as 반말 in Hangul, 반말. Proper use of 존댓말 or 반말 is very important if you want to use Hangul without causing any trouble. When in doubt, always use 존댓말, which never hurts. Let's learn how to ask a question where are you from? From where is 어디서 in 한글, 어디서, from where. 요, 어요, 나요 are all used for asking this kind of question. There is a subtle nuance difference though. 요 is standard and generally used for present tense, comes after a character with no 받침. 어요 or 나요 comes after a character with 받침. 어요 shows more respect and 나요 is more casual. Both 어요 and 나요 are generally used with past tense. Hangul can present a rich set of subtleties and emotions. We will learn one by one. Just remember 요, 어요, 나요 for asking questions. 오다 is a root word for come. Its past tense is 왔다, which means came. If you want to use honorific expression 존댓말, you need to use 시다, 시다 tail word. Thus the root word becomes 오시다, 오시다. Then its past tense becomes 오셨다, which is a 존댓말 for 왔다. When you use a 쌍시옷 받침 with a verb, it generally turns itself into a past tense or have pp, present perfect tense. But in Hangul, the difference between a past tense and have pp, present perfect, is very negligible and use of 쌍시옷 covers both cases well. We will learn more details of Hangul past tense, but for now, just remember that the use of 쌍시옷 with verbs is for past tense. Now let's decide whether to use 요, 어요, or 나요. Since the character what or 오셨 ends with 받침 쌍시옷, we have to use 어요 or 나요 instead of simple 요. Therefore, where are you from or where did you come from maps to 어디서 왔어요 or 어디서 왔나요 instead of saying 어디서 왔요, which is hard to pronounce and sound awkward. You can also use 당신은 어디서 오셨나요 or 어디서 오셨어요, which is more polite expression 존댓말. In both cases, 당신은 part is implied, so you don't have to use that. When you meet each other for the first time, it is always desirable to use 존댓말. Please practice and get used to 요, 어요, or 나요 when asking questions in Hangul. Now is the time for you to answer the question, 어디서 오셨나요? We have learned quite a few country names, so let's use it. Let's say you are from USA, then 미국에서 왔어요, or 미국에서 왔습니다. Well, 왔습니다 is a bit more formal than 왔어요. If you are from Japan, then 일본에서 왔어요, 일본에서 왔습니다. When you are from France, 프랑스에서 왔어요, 프랑스에서 왔습니다. Optionally, you may prepend I am part, 나는 or 저는. 저는 일본에서 왔어요. As we already learned, use of 저는 is preferred since it is more polite. 에서 is same as 서 tail word, which means from in Hangul. You can use both, while 에서 is a bit more formal expression. We now have a basic understanding on how to ask questions and how to answer them. To ask questions, we basically use 까 or 요 to be polite, and 니 or 야 for casual cases. To answer, we use 입니다, 습니다 or 어요 to be polite, and use 이다 or 이야 to be casual. Right after this episode, most of the countries will see a bonus episode track with a former K-pop group, Tiara, to show interesting usage of yo for both questions and answers. Stay tuned and enjoy. Until then, 또 봐요 and 까요니야!